Welcome to our Private Practice Success Stories podcast. We are so delighted today to have Lauran Hahn back on the podcast. You may remember her as someone who started her practice from scratch, got it full with a wait list, then went and expanded into a group practice, then went beyond the couch. Like, she's done so many things. And I think it's a great testament to having someone back on the podcast, because what we build in our businesses, it shifts and it changes over times. We learn new lessons. And so Lauran's here to share some of the lessons that she's been learning, some of the outcomes she's having in her group practice today. Well, Lauran, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here today. Thank
Awesome. So, tell people a little bit about your group practice as it stands today so that we can
you.
kind of orient, like, what does that look like? How many people work for you? Where are you located? What's your website address? Just that little like intro piece.
hmm Yes, so I have a trauma focused group practice in downtown Orlando. We are all EMDR therapists. So we specialize in EMDR therapy, working with children all the way up to adults. And we're located right here in downtown Orlando. And my website is mindfullivingcounselingservices.com.
So, and how many employees do you have working with you right now?
So right now we have 4 full-time and 1 part-time therapist working for us. And then we have an administrative assistant as well.
Fantastic. So a
Yeah.
nice big team right now.
Yeah, this is the biggest that it's been like ever so far because it's kind of ebbed and flow here and there, but like this is the biggest and the most full that we've been. And that's really exciting because, with the economy and everything, things like, how are we going to do? What's going to happen? And we have just been steadily growing. So,
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think right now we're recording this in May of 2025. This is a topic that's been coming up a lot, is fear regarding the economy, and specifically fear around private pay practices, which is what y'all do. So tell us
yes.
about what have you noticed, if anything, shift over this last year or so in terms of referrals, in terms of what you need to do marketing wise? Like, are you
Mhm.
everyone's talking about how being terrible, but what is it actually looking like in your group practice right now?
I have seen people on Facebook and all kinds of places talking about my private practice, my group practice, everything's going down the toilet. And I'm like, man, I feel so lucky because that is not the case for me. We are, I think, because we are highly specialized and we are known in the community now as being an EMDR specialized practice. And from all of the marketing and networking and everything that I learned from Zinni Me, I have really made a name. Mindful Living is a name in the Orlando community for trauma informed care. I think when it comes to private pay, when someone's seeing a specialist and they know what they need and they know what they want, they are willing to pay the private pay cost because we get outcomes. We the referring providers know that we have amazing outcomes with our clients, and so that's also part of our reputation, I believe, in the Orlando area. So all that hard work that you taught or that I learned from Zinni Me along the way is really paying off right now because we're stable. We are stable, we are steady. I'll also say that last year during the summer, I was ready for the summer slumps. Didn't happen. And so it just continued to grow and grow and grow. I think one of the hardest things for us isn't even um, client referrals, it's getting the right therapist in the practice that is going to be able to do amazing work so we can fill them up. It's just are they retaining? So it's all of that stuff. It's that end of things that we're really focusing on.
And it's interesting too, because I think I talk with a lot of group practice owners, and what they think of as a large team is more like 20 to 30, right?
Mm,
And you're
mhm,
like, "Oh, this is a pretty big team, 4
mhm,
full-time, 1 part-time person." Let's talk about, like, what you've been building and how you've been building it, the intentionality. What is the difference, or what are the values that have you've been really focused on in terms of what kind of group practice you wanted to build, versus maybe what you've seen other people build or what you considered building and kind of
mhm,
shifted from? Like, what do you think has like got you to this point, and why this way?
mhm. So I had an idea um, going into group practice that I really wanted to have a healthy work environment. And the values that I remember working actually with you guys on really identifying what my values were. And they are collaboration, communication, community, and continued learning, all C's. And because I feel like we have to have a healthy work environment if we're going to be doing trauma work. And so I really allowed these values, these core values, to inform like my policies, my practices, and help me pick therapists. And this was a learning curve. Like I didn't know how to do this in the beginning, but over time now we have hired some of the best therapists lately. I'm like, man, they just slid right in and they've taken off. But they also have to value these things: collaboration, continued learning. We part of an internal community and part of an external community. Like these things need to be important to the people that we bring in, and that's going to, help us be a good fit and work well together as we're serving the community.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting because I think a lot of group practice owners would say, hey, these are the things that we value. And yet, I think sometimes it's very easy to say it versus like live it out, right?
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and obviously, like I know how you live out these practices on the back end. So let's talk about some of the back end things. Like,
Mhm.
when you're trying to create community and collaboration, this continuing learning, what does that look like logistically? What are some of the things you have to plan for financially in the way that you pay people, or even in the way that you budget? Like, what are the things that have to happen to actually put your money or your time or the clinician's schedule where your values are?
Mhm. So first of all, I think I I live out the continued learning value. I mean, can talk on each of these. I offer EMDR certification for all of my EMDR therapists. I will certify them in house, and so that is something that they get as part of their a fringe benefit, I guess. And then once they're done with the EMDR certification process, then I give them a training stipend because I want them to continue learning. And so that is a value that we put into practice as well. And then For community, we do several different things within the community, but our most recent launch is we offer a free eating disorder group for people in the community. So this initiative is really like we want to really be able to bring community in, and we are, it's our therapy is on the higher end of things. I mean, as far as the price point. And so this is one of the ways that we can help make it more accessible to people within the community. And there's other things that we do with that as well. And then collaboration, we are hugely collaborative. There are so many different ways that we do collaboration. First of all, we will collaborate with all of the clients' other providers if they want us to, which we kind of lead the treatment team. I feel like as therapists, we can lead that treatment team. And then we also meet regularly. We meet in our team meetings, we meet in supervision, we meet in EMDR certification consultation. Um, and then we also will do just things within the group. Like I'll take everybody to lunch at some point, just to keep building that community, that collaboration. So these are a few examples of ways that we do that, but I can probably go on and on, but I don't know. Just keep talking about it.
But I think that that piece, right? I think it's one thing to have those as ideals, but the actual logistics of making sure, hey, someone's caseload is such that they have time to go to supervision, that they have time to go and do consultation, that there's room, they know exactly who they can call if they're really struggling. The logistics of what does it really take for me to have the time and energy to not just be taking someone out to lunch, but also to be doing the EMDR certification with them. And what does it look like um, to really create something where your clinicians have the time and space to provide a free group to the community and then also to market it to the community. Even the things that you do with all of the meditations that you have for free on your website. So even if somebody came and they just got good information about questions to ask someone that was in their price point, but then they also get to download free meditations to be able to get some support in the interim,
Mhm.
right? Like all of those like little and big things that I think can sometimes be tacked on. And then sometimes when something is tacked on and not really planned for, it does one of two things. Either it becomes something that when the stress comes, when the fires come, that's the first thing to go because it's not really built into the system. Or on the other side, it's this place of, oh my goodness, I'm doing this thing, but I as an owner feel so stretched thin because I have my caseload and I'm doing all these things and like suddenly I'm working 50 or 60 hours a week. Can you speak to that
Mm.
part of finding the balance as an owner to make sure that you really have the space to be in full presence for your team?
Mhm. Right. Yeah. So that's a good one. Well, first of all, I want to say there's me as we have also a clinical lead or clinical supervisor. She's also a qualified supervisor. So there's me and her. So there are two people that are here to support our team. But I don't carry a big caseload, like a regular weekly caseload. I think I have three right now on my caseload. And then I will also do intensives. And I do 1 to 2 intensives per month. But what that allows me to do is be free and open to support my team with whatever comes up because things are always coming up here and there. And so that allows me to be there and support my team. My team also, in terms of their own kind of balance, is they get paid to come to the meetings, so they get their admin fee to come to the meetings. And I was going to say something else about that. Oh, we have really, they work 25 clinical hours per week, and then you add on their admin time that I pay. I pay a certain amount of admin time per week too. So I build in that time and that space so that we can respond. I don't want to be under the fire. I don't want to feel like that. I mean, leaders don't make good decisions when they feel super stressed out. They're just trying to get the stressor to go away, and I really want to be able to respond and not react. And I also want my therapist to have that space too. Um, so another thing that we do when we onboard new therapists, because we have a lot of policies and procedures in place, they work one on one with the clinical lead, clinical supervisor, to make sure that they have the support that they need to implement all of these policies and procedures. And they will meet weekly until they just start phasing out and they don't need that person anymore. And that's another space where if, they're not understanding, they have that support, they have the space. So,
I love that. I think that's something when obviously working with a lot of group practice owners, there's a lot of owners that feel like their main competition isn't necessarily about competing with BetterHelp or Grow or the online tech companies in terms of getting clients. The competition is actually in finding really great therapists and people seeing them as the place as opposed to something where maybe they're getting a really maybe you're getting 10 different people every week saying, "Hey, we'll hire you. We'll pay you all this money. It'll look so great." And they leave out the fact that it's 1099, that they're not gonna
Mm,
be paid any of their admin, that they're maybe I say misspeaking, but, they're going back and forth between talking about per session fee versus hourly fee, and they're doing things that are purposefully meant to kind of make it a little confusing to navigate, and then
yeah.
therapists suddenly go, "Oh, wow, to get the take home income that's actually sustainable for me, suddenly I'm working 60 to 70 hours a week. That's not what I came here to do. I came here
Hmm.
because I really wanted to do amazing work, again, that same
Yeah.
thing with the online tech companies of, wow, I'm gonna have this ability to be independent. Maybe they are excited about the idea of being a contractor. They'll be able to make choices in their clinical work. And then suddenly they realize they're being thrown all these clients that are completely inappropriate for them. They're not allowed
Mm-hmm.
to refer people out. They're not allowed to graduate people that are inappropriate, and they go, "Oh, wait, this is none of this is what I was looking for," and they're kind of out of the frying pan and into the fire. So this
Yeah.
place that you're or, this space that you're describing of how can I really create something that's a win for the clients, that they're getting the best outcomes possible, that
Hmm.
it's a win for me, that I can see that this is really impactful, and it's a win for the employees as well, that they're able to do the kind of work that they really wanna do,
Yeah.
have amazing outcomes, be really supported, have a sustainable income, to be able to, like, be a therapist as opposed to being somebody who's, sitting burnt to a crisp, right?
Hmm.
So just
Hmm.
that part too, there's a lot of conversations right now about therapists feeling really numb, therapists really being burnt out. What
Hmm.
you're noticing is the impact of what you created in terms of
Hmm.
keeping burnout rates at bay within your practice for your employees.
Yeah, so that's really important to me. I don't want my client, my therapist, to be burned out because obviously they're not going to be effective. And I really want people to want to be here. That's very important to me. Um, so one of the things that we do, I just kind of when you had mentioned getting a bunch of different clients that don't feel like a good fit, not being able to refer out, all of that kind of thing. So I meet with my therapist each quarter, and we have KPIs, and these KPIs are based on what I consider best practice and what research considers best practice. And one of the things we do is we look at where they are with these KPIs, and it's not a like punitive thing. It's a, where are you with this? And if you're not where you need to be, what can we do to support you? Like, what is the thing that you need in order to help us get you to this standard of care that you can offer therapists? And then, so that's part of what we do. The other thing that we do is we take a look at their client list and we look at everybody who's been with them for a long time, people who've dropped out, people who've dropped down, all these different scenarios. And then we explore like, who are these clients that you love working with? When you look at this list, what are the things, what are the characteristics or the issues or whatever that you feel really inspired to work with, because I want to give you more of these clients. And and so that they stay inspired, they stay engaged, they stay excited, they still feel like they're making an impact, because as soon as you fill a caseload full of clients that they don't feel like they're making an impact, they're going to burn out. And so that's hugely important to me. And then part of that conversation is, who are is there any one in here or any issues in here that you feel like you need more training or support or supervision? You don't feel effective, but you want to be effective. And so we're always at, if they're gonna try something new or expand an area of expertise, it's one they're excited about, and not just that they're stuck having to learn this new thing. So I feel like that is hugely important in kind of abating burnout and building more of a resilient team, one that is excited to come to work and do this heavy lifting because it is.
It's really heavy, and it's really so beautiful on the other side, right? Like, I'm a trauma therapist as well, like, that is, like, where my heart lies, is watching people get to the other side, but I really think of trauma exposure as like sunlight. It is absolutely beautiful in appropriate doses, and if it's
Hmm.
not being dosed properly, it will give you cancer. Like, it is so impactful. Like, what is it like for us as those people that are kinda going in, or maybe we have the silly one, right? The Simpsons, what did they have? Like, the little, like, radiation detector, right? And you'd be, like, glowing, be like, "No." Be like, "Yeah, what are you doing?" And throw it off and keep going. I think that's what we're taught to do in a lot of
Hmm.
workplaces. We're taught to say, "Well, you're doing the best that you can. This is really hard work. Not everybody's going to get great outcomes."
Mm,
Some people are
mhm,
just really tough. Is sometimes we're being supervised by clinicians who are really burnt out. So when you're
mhm,
being taught and trained by someone who's already kind of given up, that's a very different experience than being taught and trained by someone who really loves and believes in that kind of work. And so
mhm,
I just think that's really a magical thing that you've created there, right?
mhm, mhm. And it's really fun to watch their KPIs grow because, nobody likes to be evaluated, right? It's like, oh, I don't, and if I'm not at the standard, I don't like that, and, all of that. But I always reassure my client or my therapist that, when you come, when you first start, your KPIs are going to suck. They're just going to suck. I know that. Just please expect that. And then let's watch them grow because they're going to grow over time. And it is so rewarding to watch this happen over a year's time. At the end, they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I feel like I have it now. I understand what you were talking about." And they feel really good and confident, and that translates into clinical outcomes, of course. So yeah.
It's interesting though too, because you're talking about, like, obviously you're hiring like the best of the best, the creme de la creme, right? And people who probably have a certain amount of confidence, and then they come in and they go, "Wait, I really thought I had this already." And so that's an interesting piece, right? So let's talk
Hmm.
about, what are some of the KPIs? What are some of those like monikers? I'm not thinking of the word. What are some of those numbers that you're tracking that people expect their numbers to be better than they are, but they've never tracked them before, right? Like, most of us
Right.
are not tracking these numbers. So what are some of the numbers that people are surprised to track, and maybe don't know what they don't know as to why their number is what it is?
Yeah. Okay. I had a feeling you might ask me, so I wanted to pull up my KPIs so I didn't forget anything. Um, well, first of all, one of the KPIs, this is probably really unique to my practice, is we measure mutual terminations. And it has taken, yes, quite a while to like figure out exactly how to measure that because I feel like within this, it tells us a lot about the therapeutic relationship. And if people are dropping out, they're calling between sessions, they're just, not coming or whatever, there's something missing in the therapeutic relationship that we've missed. And so one of the ways that we plan for that or problem solve for that is we have outcome questions. We regularly ask, "How's therapy going? what's working, what's not working, how do you feel like you're doing towards your goals. So to me, these go together. Outcome questions, if you're asking outcome questions, then you're doing it from the heart, not just to check it off the box. If you're really interested in what they're saying, then you're going to have a higher mutual termination rate because these people feel seen and cared for, and you've created a space where they can let you know, hey, therapy's not working. And then, we know how to have those conversations. So for me, that is one of the hardest KPIs for people coming into my practice to really understand, to really feel like there's a lot of value there. That one takes the longest, I feel like. But our standard for that is at least 70% of your clients need to mutually terminate. And that's the minimum. We really want to see 85%. That's where I would like to see, but the minimum is 70%. So,
I love that. And it does tie back to research in particular, right? Duncan and Miller and their super shrinks um, material. And they even tell a story about this, about a woman like asking the questions about like, hey, is there anything, how's therapy going? And the person says like, yeah, no, it's great. And she's like, like, wait, think about it. Like she was able to really like dive in and into it. And that ability for a therapist to be so attuned, to be so heart open, to also
hmm
be so open to feedback. For
hmm
I think especially for clients that are coming in for trauma, there's often so much wounding around giving and receiving negative feedback, or giving and receiving bad news, or wanting to people please and all these other spaces. And so for especially in trauma work, for a therapist to be able to help a client have an experience of saying, I just can't afford it. Even if it's that, or I'm just really, I just don't feel connected. You remind me of
hmm
my mom, or whatever the thing is. Like I'm really
Yeah.
trying, but there's something that's off here, whatever the thing is. And for them to make a plan together and say, that's totally okay. Let's figure it out. Let's refer
Yeah.
to this person. Let's find something that works in your budget. If you are good, you're done with therapy for right now. Okay. Let's talk about what you can do outside of therapy, like whatever that looks like, but it's not something where somebody is out on their own, because I think that's
hmm
what non-mutual termination means. It means that this client came in to have an experience, to have something as reparative, and then suddenly they feel all alone in it again.
Yeah. 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 That's a good way to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I love that piece. And obviously, like I'm such a nerd for outcomes conversations. We're big proponents of that in business school, obviously, but that
Yep.
space of what does it look like to ask questions, and to not just understand that you might get negative feedback, but to welcome it, and to expect it, and to really draw it out, and to
hmm
be able to sit with that and still know that you're a good therapist, that you're a good enough therapist, that you don't have to be perfect to
hmm
be able to be really great at your job. And part of that being a good enough therapist is to be able to identify if somebody says, I think this is going great, and you go, I don't think it is. Like, notice that you're not sleeping well. Like, here are all the things that I'm hearing. I would like to see you at a, farther along in the process by now. I'm I'm kind of wondering what we need to do to shift things. Like for a therapist to be able to sit in that place of that they've had such great outcomes over a good period of time, that they know what it feels like to
hmm
have things in flow, and where things being in flow are the norm, not the exception. And I think
Yep.
all of us
Yes.
that we were trained, we would have those exception experiences of therapy, but the norm was pretty messy. Like,
Yep.
and what we were
Yep.
normed, more than half of our clients were, canceling willy-nilly and in and out and coming once or twice a month. And we were just kind of hanging on for the ride of whatever the plan was would totally get disintegrated. And like it was messy. That's how I was taught. I was not taught a way
Yes.
to be effective.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's kind of like, well, they came back, right? And like, no, we're not just looking for them to come back. We want to know what this process is like for them. And that is, I have one therapist who's been with me for a while now. And in the beginning, she's like, oh, these outcome conversations, I can't stand them. Like, it's hard. And there was a barrier, right? It was hard. And then now she's like, I love asking outcomes because I'm going to get so much information on what can I do a little bit better. Maybe there's a blind spot. Maybe I have a blind spot as a therapist, and these outcome conversations help me see that so I can continue to learn and grow, because continued learning is part of our our ethos here. And then not only that, but the benefit is that oftentimes you get news about how amazing things are going, or this one thing that you did and the client just loved it, and you had no idea that it had such an impact and far reaching positive outcomes to their life. And like this, that's also affirming, like that helps us develop as a therapist. So
And I think that's part of we're talking about keeping burnout rates low, keeping your therapist feeling good. That ability
mhm.
to know, like, oh, not just like, well, they're coming back, so I must be doing a good enough job, right? That space of like, oh no, I really am doing well. And I always like to think of it too that I've noticed with clients over the years, clients are often so pleasantly surprised because again, specifically with trauma, most clients are taught to kind of check out and to not notice their progress. So there's sort of this
Mhm.
malaise or this sense of like everything's always going to be like this. And we're just looking for the next problem because that's what we're taught to do is
Mm.
scan our environment for safety issues. We're not taught to scan our environment for like, well, let me look at all the good things,
Yeah.
like to really dive in a real way with someone who can hold the negative and the hurt and the harm, but also someone that can sit with you in the joy and the excitement and the celebration of that. All of that is so reparative for our clients. And suddenly, sometimes they go, oh, I forgot about that. I didn't even
Yep.
realize that. And then they leave like beaming from the session, and you're like, even better, like stoke the fire of that success and like build it up.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's very reward it can be very rewarding. It can be also eye-opening, to things that we need to see about ourselves. So yes, I feel like outcome conversations are so very, very important too.
Have you now this may not be a question we can answer on the podcast, but maybe there's a general way you could ask it in terms of you said it took a little while to figure out like how to find the right teammates, how to find the right therapist. What are some of maybe this is the way to ask it. What are some of the tips you have for other group practice owners about how to find and identify the people who are really good fits for your team to make sure that it's a good match? And
Mhm.
like what are your tips for finding people who are really good matches?
So interestingly, I think there are the questions, right? There's the questions that you ask and you want the answers to, you're looking for certain answers, and all of that matters. But it really, I think it boils down to feel. Honestly, for me, in an interview, it is to me like, how does this person feel in the room? Do I enjoy this? Am I able to stay focused? Because I interviewed one person one time, and I was like, why do I keep dissociating in this interview? And I was like, something is happening. And so I interviewed them at another time because I was like, maybe I was tired, because on paper this person really seemed to be, um, like a yes, an absolute yes. And then I interviewed again, and I'm like, it's happening again. So I'm not sure what's happening with them, but I don't feel like we're together in this room, or there's no embodiment, or something was happening there. And so I was like, that's not going to work, because this does not happen to me normally when I'm sitting across from people. So there's the energy that is brought, and how it feels in the room, and how engaging it is, and how I think you actually may have taught me this years ago when I was interviewing, or may might have been Kelly. I don't remember, but it was attachment. What do you think their attachment style is? Does it feel avoidant? Does it feel anxious? Or does it feel secure? And I heard that, but now I feel for that in the interviews. So,
Actually, I think I shared that with you. And actually, there's Dr. Julie Hanks, a group practice owner over in Utah, was someone who put words to it. Um,
ah,
in particular for me, and I have like shared that. So thank you, Dr. Hanks. It's that space of what does this really look like? And again, it's not that maybe that person may still have an anxious attachment style in their romantic relationships or whatever that looks like, but in the room, it when they have this persona on, or when they're in this engagement, like, does this feel like somebody who likes me and that I like them, and that it feels like we are connected, that there's a little nice cord of energy flowing back and forth. And if I can't feel that in this
hmm,
space, then what are clients going to feel? Are
yeah,
they going to be feeling rejected or anxious or like disconnected from their therapist? Right? Like
yeah.
that example that you have of like, wait, like, what's happening? This doesn't feel right at all.
Why am I for like she said something and I can't remember what she said like 3 sentences ago. Like what is happening in this room right now? So it was very fascinating. So yeah, that really matters. Really, really matters.
And what I really love about that is that you trusted your own knowing at this
Hmm.
point that you have. Well, I shouldn't say, like, I know you've ignored your knowing before, like with hiring, where you're like, no, no, like this person seemed that they'd be great. And then
Yep.
like you've ignored that. You've gone through the experience of, going, oh, this is not a good match. And then going on the other side of it. So to be in this place of confidence of going like, I know what I know, and I know it in my body. And that doesn't matter what it looks like on paper. And I think
Hmm.
it's an interesting thing for anybody who's listening to this, who's maybe going on interviews and you're going, why am I not getting the position? Why? I feel like the position is going well. It may be something to really look at. What is your presence like in the room? Like, what does
Hmm.
that really look like? Like, sometimes we're not aware of the energy that we're bringing um, into an interview. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. Okay. So before we wrap up today, I'm just sitting with what we spoke about today and just how fun it is. I think again, this idea of being able to celebrate with you every time that we
Mm-hmm.
come on the podcast, it is a little bit of a celebration of how far you've come. I even for the maybe we'll link it in the inside the training, but we have a blog that we did years ago where when you were tracking your own outcomes in individual practice, when you were just in
Hmm.
solo practice, and you went from like, oh my gosh, my here were my outcomes, they were terrible, and like here's what they are now, and they're fantastic, and like what that felt like to like talk about that publicly, and now to be able to go through that experience with your employees to say like, hey, like I have been there. There is no
Yeah.
judgment. This is a new edge, but on the other side, it's gonna feel so good. And when they get to see that in a team meeting too, or with the other people who've gone through that process to say, this is gonna seem weird on the surface of it, but there is magic in it. Like it's
Yes.
based on research. It's based on like real stuff that really has an impact with your clients. So think that's so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we wrap up today, I usually like to ask this question in terms of, um, hmm, here's a question I'm going to ask today, which is, For group practice owners that are feeling kind of like panicked and fearful regarding getting clients right now,
Mhm.
what would be a piece of advice that you would have for those group practice owners who are feeling panicked?
Well, I'm just going to borrow from your playbook because I've been that person before. I mean, really, it's so all of the principles of boot camp are instilled in me very deeply. So I'm very grateful. But I would say first, let's collaborate. Like collaborate with these other clients, providers. Reach out, ask, how it's going, how you can support them, is there anything that they want you to help the monitor in weekly therapy sessions. Make those connections with these other providers because those relationships are going to be very, very important. It is through that outreach in and of itself has yielded so many people referring to my practice because they know that we care, we're involved, we want to make sure that they're getting the care that they need and that this provider is getting the feedback on progress that they want to know about. So I would say that's low hanging fruit. That's an easy one. So, and then maybe as a little bonus is anybody that you have still active sign releases that have graduated, reach out to those providers and say, "Hey, your client has graduated. I want to let you know that this is the progress that we made." And so that puts you in front of mind as a success to these other providers. So,
You know what's so wild too about that particular one is that that is what we were taught in grad school. Like, that is what I was taught in grad school. That's what we were taught in grad school. Like, we were taught that we were supposed to be part of a treatment team, that we always checked in with a primary care physician, that we always found out if they were seeing any other providers, and that we had a signed release for everybody on the treatment team. And then
hmm
when we went out into the quote unquote real world, it was like, oh no, nobody has time for that. Nobody has energy for that. No one's ever going to pick up the phone. So we just like kind of like it just gets left behind. And then
hmm
sometimes you go back to something that is so like so best practice. And it just happens to be a best practice clinically that
right.
best practice marketing wise. Like, yeah, 99% of what you really need to do in your marketing is come back to yourself and come
hmm
back to what really works and what is so impactful. And it's funny, I think this is okay to say out loud or what have you. Because I'd posted something, or you had actually posted asking a question about Chat GPT, like, hey, we're getting clients referrals from Chat GPT. Like, wait, how is this happening? I don't understand. Um, like, how do I make more of this? And so went back to the like that other piece of being able to come back and say, hey, Chat GPT does what they think a regular client would do is they go and they research and they look for the person who's really helping with the issue that somebody is struggling with, and they go and figure out like how much have you written about that, and
hmm
are you really talking about it, or are you talking about it in like a really impactful way, are other people talking about you? So basically everything that you'd already learned about marketing from us set you up to be in front of AI and to be in front of Chat GPT. It wasn't some special thing where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go and do this thing for Chat GPT. It just naturally happened because you were focused on doing good for your clients. And when we market in a client-centered way, then so many things just fall into place without us having to check the box.
Yeah. Yeah, I ended up getting like 3 or 4 referrals from right after that, boom, 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 from ChatGPT. I was like, "Wow, you're my new best friend."
It was funny, I actually went to check in on, like, I went in like I was like, "Hey, I'm a therapist, but I'm struggling to, I'm struggling to get full. I'm not really sure what to do. I don't know if I need business coaching or I need something else. Like, can you tell me what my options are?" And then there was the Vietnamese Business School.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
like, "Hey, ChatGPT." And then a part of me was like, "Wait, is this really?" I was like, "Are you just telling me that?" And they're like, "No, actually, we pulling all of our results from the web. Here are the pieces." And
Right. That's so cool.
so much fun. Well, thank you again for coming on the podcast. I so appreciate you taking your time out. It has been lovely as always. For those of you who are looking to create your own success story, check out zennyme.com/free. We also have our business school for therapists. Get on the interest list, y'all. Come and check it out. It is pretty magical. And yeah, I must say so myself.
I'll second that motion.